just give me 1 second. I'm parking right now.
So maybe I don't understand something. This is a driving while license suspended?
That is correct, Your Honor.
Mr. Harris, are you driving?
Yes, I am.
All right.
First, we go to Washtenaw County District Court in Ann Arbor, Michigan, where a hearing is about to begin. Next up on the docket is 44-year-old Corey Harris, who logged in virtually from his car.
Mr. Harris, are you driving?
Actually, I'm pulling into my doctor's office, actually. So just give me 1 second. I'm parking right now.
The routine hearing seemed uneventful until Judge Cedric Simpson noticed something odd.
Okay. So maybe I don't understand something. This is a driving while license suspended?
That is correct, Your Honor.
And he was just driving. And he didn't have a license.
Turns out, Harris was appearing on charges of driving on a suspended license while actually driving a car.
That is with the charges, Your Honor, yes.
No, I'm looking at his record. He doesn't have a license. He's suspended and he's just driving.
That is correct, Your Honor.
Both Judge Simpson and the defendant, who wasn't supposed to be driving, were utterly confused by the situation.
I don't even know why he would do that.
Eventually, the judge revoked Harris's bond and asked him to turn himself in at the county jail.
So defendant's bond is revoked in this matter. Defendant is to turn himself into the Washtenaw County Jail by 6 p.m. today. Failure to turn himself in will result in a bench warrant with no bond.
The video went viral, and Harris became an internet meme overnight.
I've been assaulted. I've been followed. I've been laughed at. I've been ridiculed. I have been disrespected.
After spending 2 nights in prison, Harris returned to court, where Judge Simpson set the record straight.
The person that needed to be blamed is the person that he was staring at in the mirror. He didn't do what he should have done. When they suspended his license, and what people don't understand, when they suspended his license in Saginaw, they don't suspend the license. They suspend the privilege to drive in this state. His license was, his driving privileges, better stated, were unsuspended in 2022. That required Mr. Harris to do something. He didn't do it.
Turns out, after Harris's suspension was revoked, he never paid the clearance fees with the court or the Secretary of State to lift the suspension. What's more crazy is the fact that Harris never even had a valid driver's license in the first place.
He has never had a Michigan license, ever, and has never had a license in the other 49 states and commonwealths that form up this great union.
And if that wasn't all, Harris also had a warrant against his name from 9 years ago, which even his lawyer wasn't aware of.
He's got a warrant.
No, I did not know.
Yes, he has a warrant for his arrest.
The charges? Well, you'd have guessed it by now. Driving without a valid license.
The shocking thing about it, for a driving while license suspended, that he didn't take care of. I'm going to take him into custody on the warrant.
Ultimately, Harris was sent back to prison for the 9-year-old charges. 2 days later, he was able to secure a learner's permit license. While Corey Harris's bizarre trial ended on a happy note, what happens when a defendant walks into court wearing something he's accused of stealing?
You're charged with stealing a Dolphin jersey?
No, ma'am. It show on that I ain't took no jersey. I ain't took no jersey.
Like in the case of Nelson Walker, who was facing third-degree theft charges in Miami, Florida. Walker was arrested after he and a friend were caught stealing Miami Dolphins merchandise worth over $300. Now in bond court, Walker was facing Judge Diane Ward, and quite incredibly, he walked in wearing the same jersey he was caught stealing.
All right, you're charged with stealing a Dolphin jersey?
The judge seemed suspicious at first, but Walker had an explanation for her.
This ain't the one, young.
No?
No, ma'am. It show on that I ain't took no jersey. I ain't took now jersey.
Not convinced, Judge Ward asked the public defender to weigh in.
Public defender.
As to Mr. Walker, respectfully, Your Honor, we're going to be raising probable cause issues.
The public defender, equally confused by his client's wardrobe choices, instead raised a probable cause issue, stating irregularities in the arrest report.
As to what?
As to this being a felony, because the allegations are an observation of observing the defendant and co-defendant put on a dolphin hats. The officer says A and then says hats, so there's an issue as to whether it's two hats or one hat, but clearly the allegations are the co-defendant.
Perhaps Judge Ward would have been more sympathetic if Walker didn't have 29 other prior felonies. Ultimately, the judge held Walker at a $5,000 bond and perhaps more harshly, banned him from the Dolphins Stadium for life. While Nelson Walker's questionable attire sent him to prison, how does it compare to faking a heart attack in a courtroom?
Your Honor, excuse me for a second. I need some time.
Like in the case of Keison Wilkins, who is facing assault charges in Dayton, Ohio. Facing multiple charges, including felony assault after he tried to murder a man, Wilkins was representing himself at trial.
Do you have any witnesses here present today?
No, Your Honor.
When Wilkins asked for more time to prepare his defense, Judge Mary Catherine Huffman straight up refused.
I had months to research this matter. This is why I suggested to you that you have counsel.
This is because Wilkins had repeatedly tried to disrupt earlier court proceedings.
Do not speak out in court again.
He said the court was being unfair to him and made claims of being lynched.
Your Honor, would you please ask the bailiff and the sheriffs to just go get a tree and bring it in here?
We are going to take a break.
Just miss the hanging, let the lynching, you know, because this is a lynching. I mean, this is a modern day lynching.
Please get your focus. Now
That's what it is.
you are not to speak, sir.
Modern day lynching.
Wilkins had already delayed the trial for 3 consecutive days, and now Judge Huffman had had enough.
I have repeatedly advised you, sir, that you will lose your right to represent yourself because of your conduct. Do you understand that?
No, Your Honor, I don't.
Yes, you do understand.
But Wilkins saved his best for last.
She informed me that she had family in another part of Ohio.
She did not provide me with that information now.
As he was questioning a witness, something seemed wrong with Wilkins.
She never provided with you. Excuse me, hold on a second. Your Honor, excuse me for a second. I need some time.
And then, Wilkins suddenly collapsed, clutching his heart.
We're going to take a break, ladies and gentlemen. If you'll please step out.
Court medics examined Wilkins and caught his fake.
Based on your examination, do you have any concerns?
No concerns at all. He may need some water.
Judge Huffman seemed unmoved.
Defendant is feigning some medical condition.
But Wilkins was not done. He then acted unresponsive and slumped in his chair.
Defendant is slouching over to the side and acts like he's sleeping. His breath appears to be quite normal. Doesn't appear to be labored in any way. Is that a fair assessment, sir?
Yes.
Not labored in any manner.
Yes, Your Honor.
Does he appear to be doing anything to you other than sitting in that chair?
No, Your Honor.
Then, a court deputy made a genius move to wake him up.
Oh, a remarkable change.
A strong dose of smelling salt brought Wilkins back to life, and the trial resumed.
Mr. Wilkins, do you have any questions for this witness, sir?
But Wilkins just kept staring at the deputy.
I'll take that as a no, sir. Thank you, sir. You may step down.
Judge Huffman reminded him that his ruse was up.
You've been checked out by trained deputies who are medics. You've been checked out by a registered nurse as well as an emergency medical technician, all of whom indicate that there is nothing physically wrong with you, nor any reason why you couldn't continue here, sir.
And said his actions will not cause a mistrial.
To make some effort to cause a mistrial, but as I advised you, sir, and as the case law is very clear about, your behavior will not cause a mistrial.
And finally gave him an ultimatum.
Sir, in 5 minutes I'm going to start again, with or without you.
Despite his best efforts, Wilkins was ultimately convicted of all charges and sent to 42 years in prison. While Keison Wilkins' legal career ended with a hefty jail sentence, what happens when a defendant lights up a joint in court?
Yeah, call him. I can't give you There's somebody.
Hey! We the people deserve better. Listen,
take him to jail. Take him to jail.
Like in the case of Spencer Allen Boston, who's at the Wilson County Courthouse in Tennessee on a drug charge. 20-year-old Boston had reportedly received a citation for simple possession of marijuana during a routine traffic stop.
He said he wants to represent himself in this case. I told him today was choose arraignment. It's either guilty, not guilty that day. To which he responded, I just want to plead my case to the court. So he didn't want to talk to me after that, so that's why he was...
Boston was representing himself and wanted to plead his case.
Start talking, son.
Yes, sir. I think it's very unfair, the marijuana law here. I think we the people deserve better because marijuana is a very harmless drug, and it's been around for ages, since the 80s and 90s.
Turns out, Boston wanted to argue about marijuana law, but the judge was having none of it.
I've heard that baloney all my life, so don't go any further on that.
Yes, sir.
I don't know whether it's good or bad. All I know is Tennessee still has it against the law. I swore to uphold the laws, and I have to uphold the laws as a judge. It probably is unfair, but I can't change it. You've got to go see the legislature to get that changed.
The judge then shifted focus to the case at hand.
Now, if you want to plead guilty, you can today, but if you want a trial, we can give you a trial on the officer's day, which it's Officer Vincent.
Officer Vincent?
You want to fix a trial day?
Yeah, we can do that.
That'd be fun, then you make another speech.
As the judge became busy scheduling a trial date, Boston decided to take matters into his own hands.
Boston's sentence for a simple possessions charge of marijuana. And then Boston reaches into his pocket, pulls out a joint, lights it, and starts smoking right there.
Incredibly, the defendant whipped out a joint and lit it up in front of the judge. As a court bailiff restrained him, Boston held the burning contraband up to the gallery with one final message.
There's somebody.
Hey! We the people deserve better. Listen,
take him to jail. Take him to jail.
For his efforts, Boston was sent to 10 days in jail for contempt of court and was hit with an additional possessions charge. While Spencer Allen Boston pleaded his case with a live demonstration, what happens when a woman gets arrested for laughing in court?
And sit here at a tragic moment like this and laugh and smile when somebody has lost a family member. I mean, the entire time that Mr. Zerker's sister was speaking, that clown, and that's what I'm going to call him, a clown, was sitting there smiling and laughing.
Like in the case of Amanda Kosal, who's accused of causing a deadly crash in Detroit, Michigan. On June 2016, Amanda had a fatal head-on collision with 31-year-old Jerome Zerker and his fiancée Brittany Johnson while driving under the influence. Tragically, the crash took the life of the father of 5, while Brittany was severely injured.
It was like a banging. Everything was just over.
The 25-year-old later pleaded guilty to operating under the influence, causing death. During Amanda's sentencing, Jerome's sister Doreen read a powerful victim impact statement written by his children.
Amanda, look what you did to my life. You ruined everything I had, like my dad's life.
While Amanda seemed to be moved by Doreen's words, a couple in the court found it amusing, enraging Judge Kiana Lillard.
And sit here at a tragic moment like this and laugh and smile when somebody has lost a family member. I mean, the entire time sit here at a tragic moment like this and laugh and smile when somebody has lost a family member. I mean, the entire time that Mr. Zerker's sister was speaking, that clown, and that's what I'm going to call him, a clown, was sitting there smiling and laughing.
It was Amanda's mother, Donna Kosal, who was sent to 90 days in prison for direct criminal contempt.
Ma'am, you are being taken into custody for criminal contempt, and you, ma'am, are going to the Wayne County Jail for 93 days for direct criminal contempt. Anybody else want to go? Try it.
Judge Lillard then had some stern words for the Kosal family.
This is a court of law, and these are very serious matters, and I understand you all are upset because your loved one is going to prison, but guess what? She's going to prison for the choices that she made. These people are here grieving, saddened, because a senseless act took away their loved one, and you all are sitting around here like it's a joke?
After order was restored, Amanda was sentenced to 3 to 15 years in prison.
So it'll be the sentence of this court that you will serve 3 to 15 years in the Michigan Department of Corrections.
The following morning, Donna appeared before Judge Lillard.
Case number 17-1629.
She seemed a changed woman after just one night in jail.
She apologizes to the court and asks that you discharge the contempt hearing, Judge.
All right. Ms. Kosal, is there something you'd like to say?
Yes, I deeply apologize for what I did. I was under a lot of stress. I'm going through some doctor's appointments today for my heart. It's just everything overwhelmed, and I deeply apologize for what I did in your court. I just needed to get out. And it's been very hard for me this year, and I know for the other family, and I'm so sorry about what I did, and I know it was wrong, and I apologize.
After the apology, Judge Lillard had a few words of wisdom for the defendant.
What you have to understand is, as hard as this is for you to see your baby going to prison, imagine what that family feels like when their child's dead.
I understand that. I feel for them too.
So I hope that you've learned a valuable lesson from this, and I hope that it will serve as a message to anyone doing business in the Frank Murphy Hall of Justice, or any court for that matter, that there's just a manner, things have to be conducted in decency and order. You can't come to court acting a fool. I know people watch a lot of shows on TV where you see different things happening in make-believe courtrooms that give people a skewed sense of reality, but this is real life here, and we just can't have people behaving like that. It can't be tolerated. So I will modify your sentence for direct criminal contempt from 93 days to 1 day with credit for time served, and you should be released today.
God bless you. Thank you. And I apologize very sorely, and for the other family. Thank you.
You're welcome.
While Donna Kosal spent a night in jail for laughing at the victim's family, how much time would a defendant get for driving through a crowd of people?
I literally saw roughly 10 people bounce off of that car, and you could hear thud, 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 thud as he drove through that. And you could hear it, which is a sound I'll never forget.
Like in the case of Darrell Brooks, who's facing mass murder charges in Waukesha, Wisconsin. On November 21st, 2021, 39-year-old Brooks drove a red SUV into the annual Waukesha Christmas parade. Onlookers caught the whole incident on camera. First, Brooks narrowly missed a little girl dancing by the side of the road. Then he plowed through a marching band, leaving multiple people dead or injured.
Police have identified the driver of this SUV who plowed into a crowd at a holiday parade in Waukesha, Wisconsin, as 39-year-old Darrell Brooks of Milwaukee.
His rampage continued as Brooks hit a group of pom-pom girls dancing in the parade. The SUV then sped away, leaving behind a scene of utter chaos and destruction. Eyewitnesses immediately called 911.
About 10 to 15 people down in the street. We also got multiple critical cases.
Some of the survivors later recounted the horrors which unfolded that day.
So many bodies in the road, and then I saw them start to pick them up, and they were little kids.
I literally saw roughly 10 people bounce off of that car, and you could hear thud, 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 thud as he drove through that. And you could hear it, which is a sound I'll never forget.
In the end, Brooks's rampage killed 6 people and injured 62 others. He was soon arrested from outside a house in Waukesha.
Put your hands up! Hands up! Hands up! Get on the ground! Get on the ground! Do it now! Hey. Brooks, we have one male, Donald Elizabeth. Go ahead and take a seat for me, Darrell.
Brooks's trial was filled with bizarre incidents. First, he fired his lawyers and represented himself as a sovereign citizen.
Do you wish to represent yourself in this case?
Yes, I do.
Then he frequently disrupted court proceedings.
Effectively and with dignity preside over this case here today. I am well aware that's another interruption. I'm well aware. Stop talking.
Which I have the right to.
At first, Judge Jennifer Darrow gave him a warning.
Brooks, you're advised that continued interruptions will result in you forfeiting your right to be present in this courtroom, where you'll be taken to the courtroom next door to appear by video and audio means to participate.
To being removed from the courtroom, Your Honor.
That's another interruption.
And you haven't shown me any lawful case law that I can be removed from the court.
Mr. Brooks.
But eventually she had enough and removed Brooks from the courtroom.
Mr. Brooks.
Motions I filed haven't even been responded to. I gave
Mr. Brooks, you're interrupting me yet again.
You just weren't speaking,
all right,
so I didn't
Mr.
interrupt.
Brooks, you are now going to be removed to the other
I don't
courtroom.
consent to that.
I have had
under
a
duress
dozen or more interruptions.
Throughout the trial, Brooks's outbursts continued.
I'm not, because that's a lie.
Let him
at the
finish.
end of the day,
Let him finish.
If we gonna open the door on that, no, since he want to make a record and not be accurate, so let's be accurate on the record. Since you think you know so much.
Once
so
again,
we can
Mr.
open the
Brooks
door
is
on.
being
We can
loud,
open the door on how old she told me she was when we met.
interrupting.
We can ask that question
He is
too then.
over the
Did you
top
ask that?
animated
Did you
right
know
now.
that?
Mr. Brooks, I'm ordering you to sit down and to let the state
No,
finish.
no, I'm not going to sit here and let somebody be inaccurate on the record and lie on the record.
Right. Under Illinois versus Allen, I've warned him repeatedly. He's being removed from the courtroom.
After an eventful trial, the jurors eventually reached a verdict.
Dated today's date, signed by the foreperson. Did the defendant commit first-degree intentional homicide while using a dangerous weapon? Answer, yes.
During sentencing, the mother of the 8-year-old boy killed in the tragic incident addressed her son's killer.
You're a child killer. A woman killer. I cannot wait until somebody inflicts that harm on you.
Judge Darrow said the community would be safer with Brooks locked up in jail.
Frankly, Mr. Brooks, no one is safe from you. This community can only be safe if you are behind bars for the rest of your life. This court is imposing a life sentence without the possibility or eligibility for extended supervision consecutive to one another.
Ultimately, Brooks was served 6 consecutive life sentences without the possibility of parole, plus an additional 762.5 years behind bars. While Darrell Brooks' trial was filled with crazy moments, how does it compare to twerking in front of a judge? Like in the case of Calvin Lloyd Griffith, who's in a Florida court facing charges of grand theft auto. Police said 30-year-old Griffith allegedly broke into a local school and stole an employee's car. Now at his bond hearing, Griffith appeared before Miami-Dade Judge Catherine Pooler.
Mr. Griffin is charged with burglary, petty theft, grand theft of a vehicle, and trespass. And he's on probation.
He's out on probation, Your Honor.
Yeah, I'm on probation. I'm on papers.
Okay.
Office be in here anyway because I smoke weed and cocaine.
Before Griffith talked himself into something silly, his attorney turned his mic off. As Judge Pooler looked over the paperwork, a muted Griffith tried to get the judge's attention.
Okay. You're Calvin Griffin?
Mr. Senator is the button pressed.
Oh, okay.
When that didn't work, the defendant took a slightly unusual approach. To everyone's amusement, Griffith started dancing in the courtroom. Less than impressed, Judge Pooler showed no emotion and set Griffith's bond at $18,500. He was also ordered to stay away from the school.
Stay away order from Miami Edison Senior High. If you should get out, do not go back there. You're not a student anymore.
While Calvin Lloyd Griffith impressed everyone with his slick moves, what happens when a defendant comes straight out of Hollywood?
You don't have a lawyer.
All right.
I mean, okay, so...
I didn't even feel like signing the paperwork. I'm really not in the mood for that.
For that, we go to Miami-Dade, Florida, where a bond hearing is underway.
The next one is, this is Lawrence Sullivan.
Present, Your Honor.
Pardon me? Oh, this is Mr. Sullivan?
29-year-old Lawrence Sullivan, a self-proclaimed tattoo model who resembled a certain Batman villain, was arrested on weapons charges after police received a report that he was pointing a gun at moving vehicles.
All right, good morning, Mr. Sullivan. You're charged with 1 count of carrying a concealed firearm. I've appointed the public defender's office to represent you. I'm going to be taking a look at your arrest affidavit to see if there's probable cause and address your bond status, sir.
Sullivan refused the services of the public defender by channeling his inner "why so serious" attitude.
You don't want the public defender's office to represent you?
I mean, you can represent me, but I'm trying to get bonded out, my honor.
Well, they're there to help you, sir. You don't have a lawyer.
All right.
I mean, okay, so...
I didn't even feel like signing the paperwork. I'm really not in the mood for that.
But Judge Maria Dennis, perhaps resembling the Dark Knight in her black robe, gave the defendant a much-required reality check.
Okay, well, you're in custody, okay? You're charged with carrying concealed firearm, which, if convicted, has some serious consequences. They're there to help you. The purpose of today's hearing is I'm going to be taking a look at your arrest affidavit to see if there's probable cause to hold you and then address your bond status, okay?
Unsurprisingly, it turned out that the real-life Joker had previous run-ins with the law.
Okay. All right, it looks like he has a prior for possession of cannabis, it looks like back in 2006, 2013.
The public defender argued for a pretrial release, but Judge Dennis was having none of it.
But on a firearms charge, I'm not going to do pretrial. Setting standard bond, $5,000.
Eventually, Sullivan's bail was set at $5,000, and the man with the permanent villain grin was sent back to prison. While Lawrence Sullivan's appearance didn't faze the judge, what happens when a defendant makes the entire courtroom laugh?
And then he sued me.
Like in the case of Dolores Sheinis, an 80-year-old woman who appeared at the Broward County Bond Court in Fort Lauderdale, Florida.
Messi, Dolores Sheinis.
Sheinis ended up in jail for resisting arrest after violating a restraining order filed by her ex-husband.
You've been charged with resisting arrest and violating an injunction.
Judge John Hurley soon realized he had a feisty old lady on his hands.
Does she have any priors?
No.
Ma'am, I'm talking to the prosecutor right now, all right? So just give me a moment.
I'm sorry. Sorry.
After reviewing the case, Judge Hurley let her go with a warning.
Ma'am, I'm going to find probable cause. I'm releasing you ROR to pretrial release. You're going to have a GPS ankle monitor on. That's going to ensure that you have no contact directly or indirectly with the protected party, Abraham Sheinis. You are not allowed to call him, text him, email him. You are to stay 500 feet from him at all times. That's where he lives, where he works, anywhere in between. Ma'am, you're getting a second chance on this case. I don't particularly feel like keeping an 80-year-old woman in the jail who has no criminal record. But this is your second warning. Don't go around him again.
Sheinis then stated her case and had a back and forth with the judge.
Say something, Your Honor?
Go ahead, ma'am.
Mr. Sheinis, Abraham Arthur Sheinis, and I have been legally divorced for 31 years, and I have the papers to prove it.
Got it.
We both resided at 2102 Lucaya Bend, and he paid for the apartment entirely. His assumption is because he paid for the apartment, he's entitled to do as he pleases.
Can I tell you? I can't get in the middle of who owns the apartment.
I know, that's not the point. The point I'm telling you.
I need to keep you away from him, all right?
I haven't bothered him for 31 years. Why would I bother him now?
That's a great question. That's the $63,000 question, ma'am. Just don't have anything to do with him. Stay away from him.
I swear to God and all that's holy on a stack of Bibles, I will never go near him, talk to him, call him, or
what was
even
the
look
first
at him.
thing you were going to swear on besides the Bibles?
All that's holy.
What?
I don't remember.
Oh.
What?
All that's holy.
What?
All that's holy. Yeah.
Oh, all that's holy. Yes, sir. I didn't recognize your twang.
Judge Hurley also complimented the old lady.
Have you ever thought of doing a stand-up routine? Have you ever thought about that?
I did. Well, if you pay me good money, sweetheart, I'll be there. I'm really short of funds.
Ma'am, I got to tell you something. You seem like you have a great wit about you.
I do, sir.
Yeah, so...
I mean, sweetheart, that's the only thing I have.
I've been called sweetheart in this courtroom since, I guess, Mr. Miller took over. But,
really?
Just kidding.
Does that mean you're taking me for breakfast?
Then the judge asked the defendant for a review.
Let me ask you something, ma'am.
Yes, sir.
How have I done as a judge today? So far, how am I doing?
Not bad, but you could do better.
Okay. Can we get a drum roll with this?
Before leaving, Sheinis had one last punchline to deliver.
I got to tell you, you brighten my day, ma'am. All right?
That's what the last guy said, and then he sued me.
The entertainment continued when Sheinis appeared in court the next day.
Oh, hello, sweetheart. You look fantastic tonight. Did you grow a few inches? Because you look taller.
How are the accommodations?
It's called the very fancy name, horrendous.
However, the case took a darker turn when Sheinis' daughter, Beth, took the stand.
She's very entertaining one moment, and the next moment she's threatening to, take you down. My mother has mental disability, and she needs a hospital, not a jail, and she needs to be put into a hospital, and I've been trying to do that for 6 months to no avail in the state of Florida.
Ultimately, Judge Hurley decided to send Sheinis to a mental health facility.
It's not going to be any harm to you, but they're going to take a look at you and come to a determination. Probably today or tomorrow, and then you'll.
I would say today, sir.
While Dolores Sheinis thoroughly entertained a Florida courtroom, how does it compare to smoking a joint during court proceedings? For that, we head to the District Court in Ann Arbor, Michigan, where a virtual hearing is underway.
Mr. Lane, please state your name for the court.
Anthony Lane.
36-year-old Anthony Lane, charged with drug possession, was facing Judge Cedric Simpson to waive his right for a probable cause hearing.
How you doing?
A waiver for continued plea negotiations and resolution in circuit.
You understand you'll not have that hearing and you'll proceed to circuit court for further resolution? Yes, sir.
It seemed business as usual until the prosecutor made a bombshell revelation.
People also waive their right?
Your Honor, I'll agree to waive, but I do want to make a statement on the record. It appeared that earlier in this time block that Mr. Lane was rolling a blunt and might have been smoking.
Turns out that earlier that day, while waiting for his court appearance, Lane decided to roll up a joint and have a smoke, unaware that his phone picked up everything. While Judge Simpson handled other cases, Lane continued to smoke, at one point even flaunting it to the camera. Court officials took notice and informed the prosecutor. While recreational marijuana is legal in Michigan, Lane's bond agreement prohibited him from taking any drugs.
Your Honor, given that information, I guess we need to adjourn the PCC so Mr. Lane and I can speak further before we wait.
Yeah. I think that might be wise. Mr. Lane, you understand what's happening now? Yeah.
Lane also had to get regularly tested as per his bond rules.
When's the last time you tested? 2 weeks ago. You were supposed to be testing 2 times per week. I tested back to back. Okay, but have you tested this week? No, sir.
Once Judge Simpson became aware of the defendant's actions, Lane was ordered to go to an official corrections facility for drug testing that very day.
Also going to order that you're to report to community corrections today for a test. Your Honor, I have no ride today. Well, you better find somebody to get you a ride down here. I'm ordering a test. You're the one that brought this on yourself by what you did. So I'm ordering a test today. Okay, if you don't test today, I'm going to be issuing a warrant to have you picked up.
Now, if smoking openly during court wasn't bad enough, Lane then laughed at Judge Simpson, making him even more irate.
You keep laughing, Mr. Lane. I don't think you want to do that. Not with me. You better take yourself off before you think things are too funny. Thank you.
I wasn't laughing at you, sir. I wasn't laughing at you, sir.
Yeah. Thank you. Court calls case, People versus Chandler Langston.
Ultimately, Lane never made it for his drug testing that day. Judge Simpson issued a warrant for his arrest and revoked his bond. While Anthony Lane couldn't stay sober during his hearing, how does it compare to getting your mouth shut with tape?
That's what it is.
Like in the case of Franklyn Williams, who is facing multiple theft charges in Cleveland, Ohio.
It's not a fair trial. It wasn't in trial. I'm not being allowed to speak how I need to speak. He's stopping me from talking. He's gagging me, putting tape over my mouth at this moment.
According to reports, Williams committed a series of armed robberies in 2014. He then led state troopers on a high-speed chase, which resulted in the injury of an officer. Williams was charged with aggravated robbery, kidnapping, and unlawful possession. He initially pled guilty, but later withdrew his plea and fled the state.
Local man was in his second trial back in December for armed robberies in the suburbs, and he showed up for the beginning of the trial, then disappeared, cutting off his ankle bracelet. The trial went on without him, and he was convicted.
Williams was eventually caught and later claimed that he didn't flee, but rather lost his memory after an accident and forgot about the trial. Then, at his sentencing, Williams interrupted the proceedings over 60 times in 54 minutes, despite repeated warnings from Judge John Russo.
I just met this attorney the other day.
That's fine. So,
I came and took my cell phones yesterday, and they came and took all my property out my cell today.
Mr. Williams, I'm the judge in the matter. Shut your mouth, and I'll tell you when you can talk. You got it? It's the same rules we played by while we were here in trial, every time we were here for a pretrial. So just follow the same rules. Fair enough? So at this point, I'm going to hear from your lawyers, and that means zip it.
But you're not letting me
That
tell you
means
what's going on.
zip it right now.
You trying to?
Does that make sense?
No, it doesn't.
No. Does the comment quit talking? Do you understand that?
Because you're trying to take my life, Judge,
No.
and you're not letting me tell you what's going on.
Take
It's
your
not
life
fair.
for what? What do you mean your
It's
life?
not fair. You're trying to take my life.
What does that mean?
And on the document.
Again, I'm going to interrupt. Mr. Williams, listen to me. If we have to, I will gag you in 1 second. So listen to me. You will get a chance to talk. I'm going to gag you in 1 second. So just listen to me. Zip it until I give you a chance to talk. You'll get a chance to talk. I am going to give you a chance to talk. Here it is again. So you said to me you understand this comment. Zip it. Right now.
And don't you let it play about me getting shackled on the bus for a whole week. Let that play.
Mr. Williams will...
Mr. Williams, be very simple to gag you. You'll get a chance to speak.
Tell me. Black women just walked in here.
Okay,
so I have not even been around.
Let's go back.
Peers.
Zip it. Anything you want to add to your insanity? And the
Put me on
jury
trial.
came back with a verdict.
That's a violation of the HIPAA law, Judge.
Here we go. I'm going to tape it, and then I'll unzip it when I want you to talk, because the young lady over here can't take down everything. You know how this works. We've been in the courtroom at least 50 times as we prepared for trial.
Finally, the judge had had enough. He ordered court deputies to shut Williams up with duct tape.
Mr. Williams, I want to make it real clear. If you spit on, attempt to bite, or injure any of my deputies, you're going to have a bad day.
None of that.
Oh, you clear.
Put the tape on me, man. We done with this shit.
That's what it is.
We'll go back on the record. Mr. Williams will have a chance to speak.
And I'll be monitoring everything I say.
Judge Russo later apologized for his decision and recused himself from the case.
Precedent for gagging a defendant to keep order in the court. I apologize for taking that action last week.
In his next sentencing hearing, Williams took the stand to plead his case.
Saying freedom of speech, no duct tape. Your Honor, I ask today, Your Honor, that I receive the lightest sentence that you can give me. I want the world to know I am not an animal. Contrary to what people may think, I am a man.
But given Williams' already long record before this particular crime, the judge sentenced him to 33 years in prison.
I know you're not an animal, Mr. Williams, you're a human being. But the question the court has to determine is whether or not you've learned from those mistakes.
Before Williams left, he had some final words for the court.
Freedom of speech, no duct tape. Freedom of speech, no duct tape. With the hashtag.
While getting his mouth taped up couldn't stop Franklyn Williams' defiance, what happens when a representative of the law commits a crime? For that, we go to the Wake County Courthouse in Raleigh, North Carolina, where visitors, attorneys, and employees of the court are entering the building through the main security checkpoint. Among them was Robert Jeffries, who was in court to pay off his court-ordered debt. Jeffries picked up his belongings and walked toward the elevator, but inadvertently dropped his wallet in the process. It wasn't until he attempted to make the payment on another floor that he realized his wallet was missing. Inside was $1,600 in cash.
And I jumped up, I said, "Judy, you see my wallet?" And she just started crying because she knew how much money I had on me.
Moments later, a man in a suit made his way through the checkpoint and became aware of the situation. He picked up the wallet, looked around to see if anybody noticed, and headed towards the elevator. He checked the contents of the wallet and eventually pocketed it. The man went up to the 4th floor and 5 minutes later was back in the elevator, this time with the wallet in his folder. He got off on the 1st floor and turned in the wallet to security, minus the cash, telling them he found it in the bathroom.
Somebody turned in a wallet, and then when the owner of the wallet was contacted, the money that they stated was in the wallet was missing.
Security called Jeffries and told him a man who was in court earlier that day had returned his wallet. What was that man doing in court? Defending other convicts. It turns out that the person who was caught stealing on camera was none other than a criminal defense lawyer named Stephen McGilvray. McGilvray later pleaded guilty to misdemeanor larceny and was disbarred, fired from his job, and no longer allowed to practice law in the state of North Carolina. As for Jeffries, arrangements were made to return $1,600 back to its rightful owner. While greed ruined Stephen McGilvray's law career, what happens when a defendant sleeps through his sentencing?
Psychological treatment.
Like in the case of Anthony Garcia, who's on trial for multiple homicides in Omaha, Nebraska. On March 13th, 2008, William Hunter arrived at his home and found his 11-year-old son, Thomas, and 57-year-old housekeeper, Shirley Sherman, stabbed to death.
Yeah, Shirley was right there in the hallway between the back door and front foyer. So the first thing I just said, "Where's Tom?" I think I yelled out, "Tom."
The case went cold for 5 years until May 14th, 2013, when an employee discovered the bodies of Roger Brumback and his wife Mary inside their home.
Court with a useful frame of reference for evaluating the sentence in this case.
There's a gun clip and some bullets on the floor. I just think there's something going on in this house.
The couple had stab wounds similar to the 2008 murder victims.
Specifically with the wounds to the right side of the neck. And when I saw those both on the male victim and on the female victim, you don't see a lot of knifings or stabbings that are like that.
Police tied the murders to one Anthony Garcia as revenge killings after discovering that he was fired from Creighton Medical School by Roger Brumback and Thomas's father, William Hunter. Garcia was arrested and charged with 4 counts of first-degree murder. Police found a hit list detailing his heinous plans at Garcia's house.
Anthony Garcia's shopping list, from the ordinary to the ominous.
As you can see here, it says invade rich house, torture, murder. Over here it says rich children, gun, invade, kill, knife, kidnap family, SUV, torture, kill.
Garcia had also confessed to a woman as a means to impress her.
I'm putting on my little voice and saying, "Well, Dr. Tony, I only like bad boys. I'm a bad girl. You couldn't handle a girl like me." And then that's when he told me. He told me I wasn't as good as he thought he was. He said, "I killed you before." He said, "I killed a young boy and an old woman."
After a trial that lasted 23 days, the juror deliberated for just 7 hours and reached a verdict: guilty on all counts. During sentencing, Shirley Sherman's son described how his mother's death had affected him.
I'm left with constant images from courtroom photos of my mom laying there in a pool of her own blood with an 8-inch butcher knife hanging out her neck. I can't get those images ever out of my head. There's a special place for people like this, and I hope he ends up there.
But Garcia wasn't listening. In fact, The serial killer slept right through his sentencing.
As to count one, murder in the first degree, a class 1 felony of Thomas Hunter. On or about the 13th day of March 2008, the three-judge panel orders that a sentence of death is imposed upon the defendant, Anthony Garcia.
Ultimately, Garcia was given the death penalty for the 4 murders. He remains on death row in a Nebraska prison. While even death couldn't wake up Anthony Garcia, what happens when a defendant opens fire in court? For that, we go to Berrien County Courthouse in St. Joseph, Michigan, where a routine hearing is about to turn deadly.
Think he was positive for a vitamin alcohol or something?
Just outside the courtroom, 44-year-old Larry Gordon, who was in court on sexual assault charges, managed to wrestle a gun away from Sheriff's Deputy James Atterbury, shooting and injuring him in the process. 2 court bailiffs, 63-year-old Ronald Kinzel and 61-year-old Joseph Zangaro, rushed to the deputy's aid, but they were both shot by Gordon. Another civilian, Kenya Ellis, was also injured in the gunfire and taken into the courtroom. Upon hearing the gunshots, people ran for their lives. Some headed for the exit, while others took refuge in another courtroom. The armed defendant ran across a hallway and bumped into another bailiff before he fled into the very courtroom where people were hiding and took them hostage. Meanwhile, more bailiffs arrived and moved in towards the courtroom. Gordon then used a civilian as a human shield and tried to escape. But the bailiffs cornered him and fired several shots. After the dust settled, the bailiffs realized that Gordon was dead, and so were their friends.
Oh, you got another one down here. Oh my God. Oh, yeah. Oh no. Let's go get him over. Get him over. Get him. Here. Stay with us, buddy. Stay with us, Ronald. Come on, buddy.
Ronald Kinzel and Joseph Zangaro later died from their injuries. Deputy James Atterbury and Kenya Ellis went on to make a full recovery.